Hey, welcome to the podcast today. Hope you're having a great day. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm good. Freezing a little bit.
I
It's kind of
know.
cold out there right now. Of course, when you see this, it probably won't be as
Right.
cold, but
Well, I enjoy the cold, but it's that wind. When it's a bad hair day, man, you're like, come on.
and it's so the wind is so blowing and cold.
I'm telling
it
you.
really
Yeah.
is. So that's where we
Yeah.
are wearing all of our winter stuff. So if you see this and it's not, we recorded this when it's cold. Anyhow, today it's just something really simple that we're making. It's kind of a toaster kind of s'mores-ish kind of thing, but it's a little more healthy because number one, it's made on our Extreme Wellness, which is zero net carbs. It's a high fiber, which we all need. And so it calls for Nutella. Nutella, the video I watched anyways. Not only did I forget to pick it up at the store today, not only is it like $1,000 more than I want to spend on,
But peanut butter is way better. Peanut butter.
but really the peanut butter probably, it wasn't quite as expensive as that, but I literally just forgot to pick up
Right.
the Nutella, and I thought, oh, well, what am I going to do? But then I started thinking, well, healthier, peanut butter is healthier.
And I'm going to tell you,
And
I
it
had
tastes
no
good.
idea that you could put a wrap like this in the toaster.
Oh, well,
I thought it was just bagels and toast. So
the one thing about it is Jacqueline is learning to cook with our podcast. So
the
I
bad
think it's
thing
funny
is
we have a cooking
Jacqueline,
podcast.
Jacqueline never takes it home and does it.
But you did those.
I did one, yes.
Yes.
I did. But I think the energy balls.
Yes.
Energy, I
those
should
are
say,
easy.
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Those are the energy.
Yes.
Those are so good. But anyhow, I'm using semi-sweet mini chocolate chips. I buy just the cheap little ones. Actually, they're very good. And so I buy these at our little local dollar store here. Then I just spread a little bit of peanut butter on it through it. And you want to do it on half. Okay? The reason why we're doing it on half is because you want it to fit in the toaster.
Right. You got to be able to fold it. Okay.
Correct. And you got to be able to fold it. So we fold it in, and then this little peanut butter here will stick to that. And we put the little mini marshmallows. Make sure you use mini, because if you use the big one, it's not going to fit in there.
Okay.
And then we just fold it over, and then I just kind of press it a little bit, and then we're going to stick it in the oven. The toaster. And we're just going to pop that toaster down and say some prayers that we don't burn anything while we're not watching
So
it.
do we have it set for anything, or just
I've got mine on too because I like it lightly toasted, and really just wanting to get like a little heat, just kind of a little melt.
Okay.
But I don't want it like dripping
You
all
want
down
crispy.
in the
Okay.
bottom.
Gotcha. Okay.
But anyways, we're going to do hopefully a short podcast today. Well, number one, it's a shorter cooking something, but we're on a little time crunch. So we're not cheating you by giving you a short one. We're just, we're on a little time crunch today. But I wanted to talk today about you're not accidental. We're not accidental. We were all purposed, like the last podcast said, we were purposed before the cross.
Yes.
And so in Psalm 139:14, it says, I will praise thee. This is the writer, right? I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. One of the things that speaks to me here, David knew so many mistakes that he had made, but he recognizes that he was fearfully and wonderfully made. And a lot of our problem is we see a lot of our mistakes and our failures, and we fail to see the fearful and wonderfully made part of us because we're hard on ourselves a lot of the
Right.
time.
It's interesting. When I first really got into, really paying attention to the Bible and what it meant, I had a friend, tell me, he said, I want you to read this over and over again because, I didn't think, of myself in that way as was something that God made and something that was fearful and wonderfully made. And he told me just to keep reading that over and over again, which really did help a lot for me to see, my value and how God sees me.
He does, and I think a lot of times we really do fall short of our own value and purpose to see it in ourselves. We let people speak into our lives. Let me pull this open just a little bit so people can see. It's a little bit warm. It's not too much, but you see the peanut butter is melty.
Right. And the
chocolate
chips
is a
had
little
melted
bit,
enough
yeah.
too. Yeah. I would not have thought it'd be that quick, but
Yeah, it looks yummy. And even the marshmallows
That
are
would be, I mean, it could be a dessert, but it also, excuse me, could also be like a breakfast kind of thing, you know?
it's pretty
Man.
good. I'm really tempted to take a bite of
Go
this on
ahead.
there. I would get the chocolate stuck in my teeth. I'd be sitting here wondering. But anyhow, that looks really
That was so
smells
quick.
amazing.
Yeah, it was so quick.
So a quick little dessert. But a lot of times we let people speak into our lives, right? Um, even as kids, a lot of people have parents that said things like, "You'll never amount to anything. You're just so stupid." And those things kind of seep in.
Oh, yes.
Number one, I would admonish you as a parent or as anybody who may speak into somebody's life. You could be an adult speaking into an adult. One of the things I can't stand to hear a parent do is say, "Oh, he's so bad," talking about their little boy, or "She's terrible. She's a terror." No, they're not. They are fearfully and wonderfully made. And if you're doing that over your kid, your niece, your nephew, your grandchildren, stop. Stop doing it. That's where I just have to be very adamant and say, stop doing that. Quit doing it over yourself, too. Because I have a tendency to look in the mirror and really critique myself this week, right? But there's a point where we have to understand that there's a part of us that needs to grab that we're fearfully and wonderfully made. He didn't create you to be a failure. There's nothing about our creation that God created us to be a failure. Nothing.
And, you know, I've told the story before that when I was laid off after 22 years, I chose to spend a lot of my time volunteering. And that was a choice my husband and I made. But I was told that I did not amount to much because I was not bringing an income in. Not by my husband. Let me make sure that's clear, but by somebody in my own family, that I wasn't worth. And I'll tell you, for the longest time, I let that eat at me. And so I was too afraid to spend anything on myself. And it took my sister saying to my husband, "Have you ever said," and he's like, "Absolutely not." But I had to remember, you know, God, I'm sure it saddened his heart for me to think that I let somebody human take over what I should have placed on him to get me through.
And that's one of the really one of the main points is quit speaking negative over people. If you have a spouse that's not measuring up, get up every day, speak into their life. You know, sometimes we cheat ourselves because of our own mouth. Your husband, your wife, or your child could be so much better if we began to take the role, or your wife, whatever, you know, if it's the spouse, the husband, whatever the case might be.
Right.
If we would begin to go in there and speak life, even if they're not home, speak it on their pillow, speak it in their room, speak it into the bathroom mirror, begin to speak life into that circumstance and into that atmosphere. Speak it into their psyche. You got a little kid who gets up in the morning and they struggle with math and they don't even want to go to school because, you know, while you're brushing their hair, I've heard this. I heard the story. The mother just brushed their hair and told her, "You're great at math. You're beautiful." And her math skills began to take better root.
Absolutely.
And she began. We can listen. The Bible says that we have the power. That life and death are in the power of the tongue, and we have the power to speak into our circumstances. The problem is we need to understand what we're speaking is what's bringing whatever life. What you speak will bring what. If you speak death, it will bring death. If you speak life, it will bring life. Quit speaking over people and quit letting people speak into you. Know that what God created, He created you for a purpose. He created you for a reason. And if He created you for a purpose from before the cross, He's going to deliver it after.
Absolutely. And it, you know, it's interesting too, because there was one little girl who her mother said she was being ugly when she meant she was not mean. I mean, she was being mean or not, you know, as playful to the other kids or whatever, right? And when somebody said, you know, "You're a beautiful little girl," she says, "I am not. My mommy tells me I'm ugly all the time." And, you know, and I've probably taken it to an extreme, but I was a chubby kid. So I've let that affect me in a lot of ways. And, you know, once again, it saddens God when we do that. And I'll also, one little thing about me personally is if the light hits my pictures in the house, you're like, what are those marks? Well, I take my pictures and I anoint the people, you know, quite often to put them in God's hands, right? And I always joke, if you guys come in, you know, if I'm gone one day and you look at my pictures, this is what it's about, because they're not always here. But I've always noticed when I go to God first, or I tell somebody, if my husband does something, like, you know, he's extremely handy, but if he messes up one little thing, he's like, I'm such a dummy. I'm like, no, you're not. Don't say, well, yeah, you could have done it differently. No, say, no, you're not. I mean, like you said, speak that life and that positivity into somebody. And it's amazing. I mean, even with our breast cancer patients that we help, it was one of those things where, I mean, cancer is a horrible thing, but I noticed such a difference in the ones that went into it with faith and belief versus those that, you know, and I mean, rightfully so, that felt doomed, you know, but I mean, it's all, like you said, the power of the tongue, the positivity, and letting God direct.
Right. So we're going to wrap it up today. But please keep in mind that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Even in your mistakes, even in your failures, even from before the cross, you were still fearfully and wonderfully made. You were manifested in your body as a fearfully and wonderfully made human, that has mistakes, that has shortcomings and failures, but God created you.
And
He created you for purpose.
Right, and he sees your value every day.
Every day.
Let you feel it as well.
Have a great day on purpose.